What I'm going to talk about in this video are three things. One, I'm going to be talking about my experience with purchasing manga online that has been pre-owned, go over a couple of numbers, what I generally look for. And then I'm going to talk about some websites that you can use, hopefully, to find some pre-owned manga, at least online. For my instance, I don't really have a used bookstore that I can go to check weekly or bi-weekly to see what I can purchase. And third, what I'm going to go over are just some lessons that I learned that have helped me immensely in collecting used manga online. Sometimes it can be a challenge, but we'll get through it. First and foremost, let's talk about the obvious caveat to the buying used manga rule. If a book is out of print and no longer is available for purchase new in bookstores or is readily available online, then you may be more inclined to buy used and pre-owned manga at a higher price or premium than what this video is typically for. So that's the one caveat I wanted to just address before we got into it. Getting into it a little bit, let's talk about some numbers that I was looking for when I purchased some of my used manga. First and foremost, we will go with the one I regret buying the most, and not because they look bad, just because the price I paid. So this is Sailor Moon. I will put what I paid for it on the video now. But this is Sailor Moon. I bought volumes 1 through 12 on Mercari. I paid in total after shipping. Let me check my thing. 119 and 29 cents. So that's just, what would that be? That's just less than $1 off of what you would probably pay full retail almost for these books. Well, these are $11 each, so a little less. It's still a good deal. The condition is absolutely beautiful. I'll show some more pictures as we're going along for sure. But because of the incredibly high price point and margin of savings for pre-owned manga, I wouldn't recommend looking for those particular deals where you're just saving $1. It's probably better off just to wait for the new manga at a discounted store for new if you're going to do that. I'm always going to look for lower prices and what I can find on Right Stuff and what I can find maybe on Alibris or in stock trades, because then that's what really makes it valuable to collect the pre-owned manga. The next one I'll talk about is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So I don't have all of them, but I purchased the first four from the third part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. They usually go for $19.99 to show you the quality a little bit here for the first two volumes. I purchased the 4 volumes from part 3 for a total of $41.58. For 4 volumes, you divide that, that would be an average of $10.40 per volume or book. That's a pretty good deal. I'm always looking for, at the minimum, about 50% off for these deals. If I can find them, I'll go a little higher if something is like a really, really good deal that you don't really see all too often, which we'll see a little bit here as well. The next one I'll talk about is Platinum End. So Platinum End, I collected and purchased the first, so it was 1 through 13, but it was missing 3. So 12 manga. So I purchased 12 manga for $67.44 for the sweet spot of around $5.62. That is something that I'm going to pretty much almost always pull the trigger on. It is lower, it is complete, so I don't have to worry it's almost complete. I don't have to worry about picking up any single volumes. From here or there, I definitely will do it just to fill out the collection, but that's something that I always would look for as well. Moving on to the second to last, we have Claymore. And I love Claymore as a series, but you can tell when I purchased these, the yellowing was really there. And if you could tell from the pictures, they had the library tags over the actual numbers. I actually cleaned that up with some isopropyl alcohol, so that was really nice of a cleanup. It was extra work. I also mentioned in one of my videos as well that there's some library stamps throughout the book as well. No real writing in the pages, so that's good. So that's something also to be aware of if you're buying any used manga. There could be some writing in the pages and stuff of that nature, so just be wary of that before you make the purchase. I ended up paying for Claymore $53.31 for 9 volumes. I originally thought that it was 1 through 10, but it was missing, I believe, volume 3. So divide that by 9, average of $5.92 a book. I regret this one a little bit just because of the quality. I was able to piecemeal the rest of the collection from Right Stuff Anime and In Stock Trades and even Amazon. So I do have the full collection now, and it They don't look uniform. If that's something that you care about, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that could be something that would deter you. Last but definitely not least was my biggest deal that I've ever gotten for manga. So I picked up Naruto, volumes 1 through 44, missing, I believe, 16, 17, 18, the omnibus. I was able to pick that omnibus up for $14 on Amazon, so that was cool to round out the collection. I paid after shipping $77.84, 41 volumes in total for an average of $1.90 per volume. Absolutely phenomenal price. There were some issues with this lot, though. I was willing to accept them for the $1.90 a volume price. Most of the issues really just come from this volume, so I can always upgrade this as I go along as well. So this volume, you can tell that it's kind of curling just a little bit there. The top is a little yellowed, but you can tell on the bottom, and this, thank goodness, is the only book that there's a little bit of water damage on this book. So that was the only issue that I ran into, and for the price was right for me. $1.90 a volume, absolutely incredible for pretty much 2/3 almost of the Naruto story. So definitely a good deal in my book. The next thing that I want to get into is just really understanding what websites that you can use to purchase used manga. And really, it's all the websites that I've talked about in the past. You can use Amazon, you can use eBay, and you can also use Mercari, which I have not talked about in the past, eBay and Mercari. You can also use Alibris. Alibris also sells used manga. The one caveat is just be aware of those rising shipping costs. If you look at the purchases that I made on Mercari, a lot of those prices were more attractive before fees and a delivery charge was assessed. Naruto was only $51, I believe, until a $22 delivery charge. It's still worth it, absolutely, but it's something to keep in mind, especially when purchasing on Alibris and on Amazon directly. Usually how Amazon and Alibris work is that no matter if you even buy from the same person shipping the product, it's going to stack those shipping fees on top of each other. So let's say you purchase 5 books, each book is $3 in shipping, you're probably going to have to pay, if you have 5, $15 in shipping on top of whatever the book price is. Just something to be aware of when you're purchasing on those sites. Some caveats for eBay and Mercari, at least tips that I can give you. Definitely look at those pictures and examine them as much as possible, and don't be shy to ask the seller to send you any additional pictures or condition of books that may not be in pristine condition, especially if it's not listed in the listing itself. It's always good to get a good look at what you're buying, especially because you can't be right there in the room while you're purchasing the product. Another tip that I find useful, Mercari, you can always submit offers. Some individuals are willing to barter a little bit and budge with their prices. Some are not. On eBay, what I tend to do, and I've gotten some luck with this for other items that I've purchased in the past, was if an item has a best offer and is open for bidding, and you see no bids on it, and you see maybe 15, 30 minutes left, I usually throw an under the amount of the bid price for best offer. Sometimes you will be able to get that best offer accepted because that seller is really just trying to move the item and there was no interest generated from the auction itself. So just keep in mind, as long as everyone can eat and make some money and move on with their lives, that's really all that matters in my mind with eBay and Mercari. The final thing that I'd like to just address a little bit are some things that I wish I knew and some things to do better. I already initially hinted at it, but some of these purchases, especially the Claymore, I saw the price and just jumped at it. Definitely factor in those shipping costs and definitely factor in the time you'll need to either finish that collection or make that collection that you're purchasing look up to snuff. It probably took me a good 4 hours to get all those stickers off carefully and then clean all those books that I got in the lot for Claymore. It was worth it in my mind at the time. Looking back at it and looking at the margins, I probably would have been a little more comfortable paying $40 for that lot, saving myself an additional $10 in the amount of maybe work that I needed to do to make it look good and the amount of time it took me invested to clean up those manga volumes. And that's something I suggest as well. Always remember that when you get used manga, you might have to spend some time in cleaning the material. So maybe as a preemptive thing before they ship in, go to the store, get some isopropyl alcohol, get some paper towels, maybe some Q-tips, and get ready to have a fun night of cleaning manga. The final thing that I do want to talk about is something just to be aware of that I wish I knew as well, is to make sure that you fully understand what you are purchasing on sites, especially like Mercari and eBay. Some sellers will put a massive amount of manga on the page. For instance, I'll throw up the Naruto one again. They'll throw up that, but then in the description say this one is only for maybe volumes 1 through 12. It's definitely a little deceptive, and you might run across some deceptive sellers from time to time. So just be aware of what you're purchasing. Be aware of the rating that the seller has. I tend to not want to do business with people who are not rated. On Mercari, they do this thing where you can actually scan your ID and it'll verify you as somebody who is, I think, a frequent shopper or authorized seller, something to that nature. I'm using eBay terminology for Mercari, but it's something to that effect. Just to give you the peace of mind that this person is real and they're not out there to scam you. You will run across sometimes on those websites people who are a little more nefarious than others, maybe on Amazon or on Alibris. So just be aware and purchase with some skepticism if you see a deal too good to be true. But Mercari implemented that to make sure that at least you can trust that person because they've gone that extra step and put that information there. You can still sell in Mercari without doing that extra authorization. So just make sure you're being okay. Mercari is excellent. They will get you your money back if something does go wrong. But just make sure you're fully aware and are safe online. It's definitely important.